So we've got a pretty interesting update for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition and some speculation on what Nintendo is going to be doing, and it seems like this is a far more definitive version of the game than we even first suspected based off of what Nintendo's told us with the debut trailer. We're going to get into all of that and potentially the expansion, not just on story, but on other online features and more in just a bit. Before we do, what's good everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell to get all of my Nintendo Switch RPG news videos and more first, and make sure you drop below what you're most excited about so far with Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this here because I've got to talk about this. I've had a few people reach out to me about some videos and some information when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this all is starting to make sense. This is far more definitive than Nintendo even announced at first, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be some things that tie back to what's going on right now based off of some information that's been uncovered and a little bit even revealed from Nintendo. So we're going to first start off with some baseline information, especially for those who don't know about Xenoblade Chronicles X or those who have not checked out some of the official information. If you go on the official Nintendo page for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, it is now available for pre-order. It is going to be a $59.99 to $60 game. You can get your 300 gold coins or 300 gold points for doing that, so that gives you credit towards another purchase on the eShop. It tells you about the game, rebuilding humanity on a mysterious planet Mira, and this action RPG tells you about that, 2054. But there's some other stuff here. If you do pick up the game digitally, you will receive Nintendo Switch Online 14-day free trial when you get it. Now, that is very important. Hold on to that right there. Now, here's another thing, guys. If you scroll down even more, number of players. This is something that I probably should have talked about before, but it says single system 1. We know that it's a single player RPG. 15 gigabytes, which is, I think, a bit smaller than the original release of the game if you downloaded all the data packs and all of that. So they actually were able to optimize it when it comes down to it. Obviously, architecture, new processes, all sorts of stuff. And they're able to make it to where you don't have to download those data packs for fast loading and all that. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch is a more modern, better system for that. So that's definitely a good thing. It's going to fit on one 16 gigabyte cartridge, which is absolutely awesome for, of course, preservation. And of course, if you just want to be able to have the game, play it right away. But here's the big thing. Online, 1 to 32 players. But once again, they had that social hub stuff in the original game. But there's a very interesting video that was released from a YouTuber, and his name is Mega Motion CD. And I checked out this video here, and essentially he was talking about some of the stuff that was happening in the Nintendo Switch Online playtest and some of the descriptions. I don't want to go over everything because I am in the playtest. I haven't been playing it as much, but I haven't really been experiencing everything there, so I can't sit there and say that I saw exactly what he's talking about. But essentially, he describes what was said and how it mirrors the exact thing in terms of what you do in Xenoblade Chronicles X Online, or what you do in Xenoblade Chronicles X. And it seems like, which I talked about before with the Nintendo Switch Online, when it comes to the playtest and everything, how they're testing out or stress testing servers for their games, so to have more people play in a shared space and things happening at the same time. And it seems like, based off this video, which I will have linked in the description, that it is a one-to-one comparison in terms of some of the descriptions that are going on in that game and what you do and Xenoblade Chronicles X. I highly recommend for you guys to check out Mega Motion CD's video on it. Once again, I will have the part linked for you right below. So that right there is a big indicator that this game is going to have a way more expansive online multiplayer than what maybe we originally thought for it. And that would be a huge update to this game. Imagine if you have up to 32 people actually in the game. Now on the Wii U, from what I remember, it was 4 players. You can go into missions 4 players, and the hubs would have up to 32. Then you can kind of go out with certain people, or you can download their avatars to use or whatever. I don't exactly remember everything with Xenoblade Chronicles Wii U's online, but it definitely wasn't 32 players all at the same time. So could Nintendo be doing a massive multiplayer expansion for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition? It definitely seems so. Now, remember what I said about Nintendo talking about the 14-day online trial. If this was what Xenoblade Chronicles X was on the Wii U, I highly doubt that they'd be pushing this hard for you to go online, because really it's one of those things where, yeah, you can go online and play multiplayer, it's cool and all, it's just 4-player multiplayer. It was almost seen as an afterthought for the most part at the time of release. People played it and it was good and everything, but it was a little bit of a backfiddle to the actual main single player campaign. But if they're giving you 14 days online, if you have this Nintendo Switch Online playtest that mirrors some of the verbiage in terms of what you do in Xenoblade Chronicles X on the original, and they're testing out different things so they can have that ready so there's no problems beforehand compared to the issues that we saw with Nintendo before in the past with their online, I think that it pretty much sets up the perfect storm. That part of this, when it comes down to it, which I stated this before, that Nintendo was stress testing for their servers for newer games, this could be one of the newer games on top of the NPLN, which was implemented back in 2021. The first game that used that was Monster Hunter Rise, and Monster Hunter Rise's online was clearly better by far than any other online when it comes to third parties on the Nintendo Switch with that type of game. Easily the best online. Yeah, I think that there's definitely a connection here between that NSO playtest that's going on, 1 to 32 players, Nintendo pushing the 14 days online and trying to push it with this game in particular, which they haven't done too many times before that. Sometimes they do have some vouchers with some bundles and all that, but I think this is one of the first times that they've actually pushed it with a game coming out with online that I've seen, at least with a digital version. So that all kind of spells to me, Mega Motion CD, his video, what he said about that, the 1 to 32 players online that we already know about, and the fact that they're just pushing this, I feel that, yeah, there is going to be a massive update, not only to the single player and then fixing the story, but actually the expansion of the multiplayer itself, which would be very exciting. I would love to be able to go into missions with 16 players or anything more than 4, or with 32 players. Imagine that. You have 32 different people's scales. You guys are doing different types of missions, large scale battles. Who knows what else they've actually cooked up for this game. And listen, it's Monolith Soft. Monolith Soft always does things crazy. When you expect them to do one thing, they might do something else and blow you away with it. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, for example. We didn't expect that you'd be able to have 7 characters all on screen shouting and doing different types of attacks, on top of you being able to switch instantly between each of those characters. Well, 1 through 6 characters that you can switch through, and then have a 7th character as a support kind of come in as well, and then instantly switch between them. That was something that was not a feature in any other Xenoblade Chronicles games, and they got that done on the current Switch, and it didn't necessarily slow down to a crawl with the frame rate. Definitely a little blurry at times when a lot of attacks were going off, but it absolutely held up, and held up pretty good, especially with how massive that game is. So Monolith Soft absolutely could have put their heart and soul into this and really righting some of the wrongs with Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U and making sure that they get that right. This could even be the start of something even more for them down the line. Let's see how it's received. Xenoblade Chronicles X is a game that honestly didn't sell as well as it could have because it was on the Wii U. The Wii U is a system that barely sold at all, only sold 13 million, not even up to 14 million. So it wasn't a successful system. It's actually Nintendo's worst selling main system of all time by a pretty good margin, a number of million units. So it's not like it's super close between that and like the GameCube. Now they've had systems that sold worse, like let's say the Virtual Boy, for example, but that wasn't a main home console or a main Nintendo platform. It was a side thing compared to the Game Boy and the N64 and what Nintendo was doing at the time. So they haven't had anything that was that much of a failure. And unfortunately for Xenoblade Chronicles X, that was the system that it launched on. However, once again, just like I've stated before many times, the Wii U was a precursor to the Nintendo Switch, and without the valuable insight that Nintendo learned, good and bad, from the Wii U when it comes to the beaming technology, playing the games portably, designing something, and what they needed to do, and some of the negative things in terms of the design of the system and architecture, we wouldn't have gotten the Switch in the way that it was and how it developed into the platform that it is. So I do feel that it was very valuable valuable for that failure, and it was very valuable to learn from there. And I think this is exactly what Monolith Soft has done and Nintendo when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles X. Test out everything beforehand. Get everything situated and set beforehand. Push what you think is going to be great with this game, and different from what you saw with Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3, and get new people to join into this and have that new expansion online there for them as well to create a different experience. So this could be something here. Shout outs to Mega Motion CD. His video was fantastic on it. Highly recommend once again for you guys to check it out. Now, I did recently talk about why Xenoblade Chronicles X is incredible and why it's a special game and why you need to play the game. If you haven't seen that video, please make sure you check it out if you can. But I will talk about a few different things here when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, because I'm incredibly excited about this game. And if you're someone new to the channel, you can definitely get excited with me with this. So for me, at least, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition kind of states something different in terms of what Monolith Soft was trying to do. This is the only game that actually has somewhat realistic guns or ammunition and bullets and different types of things in a Xenoblade game. Usually you'll see like weird, I would say like ether guns or like magic guns in Xenoblade. You wouldn't see dual pistols and assault rifles and the type of guns in other Xenoblade games, but this game has it. So it gives it a little bit more of a gritty edge compared to the other Xenoblade games. I'd also say the character development is also very different in terms of you branching off into different types of classes from a singular class. So you start out the base class and then you can kind of have your way where you want to go. That's very different from what you do with the blade system, very different from the set classes already in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and has some similarities, but also very different from the job system that's in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Future Redeemed, where it's more set in that game. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you can switch between them like Bravely Default or even like Metaphor Refantasio. So this game has a very unique and different type of hook and edge with the combat. Now, if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles, it's similar in how it works in terms of the execution. You do have your auto attacking, but just like Xenoblade Chronicles 1, in this game, unlike Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you can actually move and attack at the same time. Now, some people don't understand how important movement is in Xenoblade because they haven't played enough or don't really understand the battle system, but it's very important because certain sides that you're on, whether you're in front of the enemy, behind the enemy, or on the sides of the enemy, that can actually activate certain skills to do extra effects or bonuses. It's really important if you want to topple your enemies, if you want to launch them or smash them in certain Xenoblade games that have that, or if you want to topple, stun your enemies in other games. So Xenoblade Chronicles X also has that. So it's strategic, and I do think that it feels a little bit better overall to be able to move and attack at the same time compared to just standing still, although there are things that you can do as a workaround in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 specifically with the quick dodge option and all of that. So it makes it a bit more involved, but in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 it's a bit more set. But it does make sense in terms of how they do it in that battle system. But this one, it makes sense how they do it in this one because it kind of has or borrows a bit from what they were doing with Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And this is the game right after Xenoblade Chronicles 1 in terms of Xenoblade overall. Even though Xenoblade Chronicles X is separate, standalone from Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3. And yes, you can make some connections if you want to, but overall, Nintendo is seeing it as separate. And that kind of goes into my next point, which I talked about in my video. But I want to talk about how if you have not played the Xenoblade Chronicles series, this is an okay game to jump into. People always ask me, when should I play Xenoblade, or which one should I start with? And it's never really starting with the last one. I always tell people play stuff in order. Unless the developer specifically says you shouldn't play in order, I think it's always easy to just start at the first game. So Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. But since this is a standalone and a separate type of thing, you can absolutely pick up Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, hop into it, and really enjoy it. The only thing that I would say is that if you're trying to play the whole series overall, just know that it's very different from what the other games did. So if you play Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition first, and then you jump into Xenoblade Chronicles 1, don't expect it to be exactly like it with tone and story and themes. It is different overall, but if you're willing to get into that combat system with the auto attacking and then with the activation of skills and going from there, it is very, very engaging and a ton of fun to go through and play. So yes, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is coming, and it seems like it's got a lot more than what Nintendo was originally revealing, and there will be more to be talked about with this game in the future. So very excited for that. But What do you guys think when it comes to this big update with Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition? What do you think on my theory here? And of course, once again, shout outs to Mega Motion CD. Check out his video, linked in the description. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.